Hello everyone, welcome to Earth IAS. I am Amit Kumar. Friends, in this lecture we are going to discuss previous year question paper of Polity section, and this is part 4. Right, as you do know, we have till date we have discussed 4 years question paper in 3 parts. In first part we have discussed 2013's question paper. In second part we have discussed 2014's question paper of Polity section, and in third part we have discussed 2015 and 16 Polity section combinedly. Right, in this section we are going to discuss 2017's question paper. Right, and in 2017 there were exactly 22 questions. Yes, you have heard right, 22 questions directly from Polity section. So you can understand the importance of Polity. Right, even in last year, right, in 2020 to 24, right, there were 18 questions from Polity section. Right, and as you know that we are discussing last 12 years question paper from 2013 to 2024. Now another important thing I would like to tell you that if you have any doubts, any queries, right, regarding your preparation or any other preparation related query, right, or subject related query, or if you want videos, right, or video lectures on any particular topic, you can comment in the comment box. I will personally answer your queries or clear your doubts, and I would make videos on your demand, right, if the topic is relevant. Right, last important thing, the PDF of these questions along with detailed explanation. Right, so its link has been given in the description box. You can download the detailed explanation along with questions. Right, now let's begin. So first question, right, and I am not doing trend analysis. We have already done trend analysis in first and second part. Right, you can watch. I will give the link in the description box. Right, so first question, just see, it says consider the following statement. Right, first, the Election Commission of India is a 5-member body. Right, so directly from Election Commission. Right, if you know about Election Commission, you will be knowing that it is a 3-member body, means one Chief Election Commission and 2 other commissioners. Right, under which article there is provision for election commissioner? You can comment in the comment box. Right, under which article? Second, the Union Ministry of Home Affairs decides the election schedules for the conduct of both general election and by-election. No, it is decided by the Election Commission, right? Not by the Home Ministry. So again, this statement is incorrect. Last statement, Election Commission resolves dispute relating to split or merger of recognized political parties. Right? So this statement is correct. Obviously, any dispute related with split or merger of political parties, right, or their recognition is resolved by Election Commission of India. So this statement is correct. Now check the correct answer. Right. First says A says 1 and 2, no. B says 2 only, no. C says 2 and 3. D says 3 only. So D is the right answer of this question. Right. The question was very simple. Right. Now check the explanation. Right, here is the explanation. Though in the explanation I have already explained, so you can pause the video and you can read the explanation. Right, second question. Right, listen, this question is not factual question, it is conceptual question. Right, and again I am repeating that polity is more about concept than fact, more about concept than fact. So your concept should be crystal clear, very transparent. Right, there should be no chance of if and but in polity. Right, so it says local self-government, right, local self-government can be best explained, right, focus on these terms while solving the question in the mock test or even in the main exam. You should underline the main term that is or that has been asked by UPSC. Right, so it says can be best explained as an exercise in. Right, so first, federalism, no. What is federalism? Simple. Federalism means what? Division of power between at least 2 levels of government, that is federal or union and state or provincial. Right, that is the simple meaning of federalism. But local self-government, right, can be best explained not in federalism. Second, democratic decentralization, obviously, right. Decentralization means what? Devolution of or division of powers, right, from one level to lower or upper level of government to lower level government. That is the simple meaning, right. For example, what? From union to state, and state to local self government or local bodies. So state gives power to local self government or local self bodies, self governing bodies, right. So this is the or this best explains the exercise of local self government, that is democratic decentralization, right. This should be the right answer, but read others. C says administrative delegation. No. D says direct democracy. Listen, in India we don't have direct democracy, right, except at which level? Gram Sabha level, right. In India we have direct democracy at only at Gram Sabha level, only at Gram Sabha level, not at local self government. Though Gram Sabha is one of a very basic unit of local self government, but we cannot see, or if the statement comes that do India have direct democracy, the answer, your answer should be right in one statement. No, right, we have indirect democracy. But if the question comes in means, then you can define that we have direct democracy at very lower level, that is Gram Sabha level, right. Why? Because each and every individual who is 18 year or above, right, is member of Gram Sabha, right. So B would be the right answer of this question, right. Here is the, already I have explained, right. Federalism, simple, you know, and I have explained. Democratic decentralization is the correct answer. Why? Because it means transferring power and decision making from higher level, already I told you, center or state to lower levels, right, ensuring people's participation in governance. And obviously you would be knowing very important 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment act, right. 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment acts, right. It institutionalized what? Local self government in India, right. Administrative delegation, simply it involves what? Assigning administrative duties to lower officials, right. For example, you, when you will become IS, right, IAS officer, right, that time this procedure will be used for you or by you, right. Lastly, direct democracy, already I told you that in India we don't have direct democracy, right. And especially our country with very vast population like India, direct democracy is not possible, right. And it is seen only at Gram Sabha level in India. Now third question, again conceptual question, right. It is a conceptual question, so if you know, then you can easily answer this question. So it says, in India, judicial review implies, right. What is the meaning of judicial review? So you will be knowing Article 13, 32 to 26. All this gives power of judicial review to judiciary, right. So first is the power of judiciary to pronounce upon constitutionality of laws and executive orders. Obviously, right. Simply judicial review is, in simple terms, it means power or a tool in the hands of judiciary to review the acts of or acts passed by legislature or any action taken by executive, right. And it try to balance, or you can say that it is used by judiciary to check the arbitrary action, whether it is legislature or executive. So this should be the right answer, right. But read other options too, as I suggest you every time, that even if you found, or if you have found the right answer in the first question, in spite of that you should read other options, right. Second, it says the power of judiciary to question wisdom of laws enacted by legislature. No, right. Judiciary cannot ask the wisdom, right, or question the wisdom of laws enacted by legislature. It can only review, right, if whether the law is violating constitutional provision or violating the doctrine of basic structure or not, right? Third, power of judiciary to review all the legislative enactments. Focus, all the legislative enactments, no, right, before they are assented by to, right, by the president, no. Again, this is not the meaning of judicial review. Last, the power of judiciary to review its own judgments given earlier in similar or different cases, no. Simple, in simple terms, right, judicial review means what? Power of judiciary to pronounce upon constitutionality of laws and executive orders. Constitutionality of laws means what? Passed by legislature. And executive orders or executive actions, right, that is the simple meaning, right, to check the actions of whether it is legislature or executive. Simple, that is the simple meaning of. So A is the right answer of this question, right? No need to explain further. If you want to read, here is already I have told you that article what, 13, 13, 32, right, 131, 226, all these articles give power of judicial review to judiciary, right? If you want to read, you can pause the video, or otherwise you can read the PDF, right? Fourth question, again very important question, right? What happened that, listen, especially when you are studying polity and try to correlate the current affair, right, of polity section with static portion. What happened that in that year, in 2017, there were private means private member bill was in current affairs, right? So UPSC asked this question, right? So again, for this year or any upcoming year, you correlate the static portion with current affairs of polity section, right? Generally what happens that if your static portion is strong in polity, you will be easily able to answer even the question asked from current affairs, right, except for any question that is from any particular bill that has been passed recently, right, and become an act, then you will miss if you don't know. Otherwise, I can assure you that most of the questions of polity can be done easily by what, making your static portion strong, right? So first says, with reference to Parliament of India, consider the following statement. Parliament of India, first says, a private member's bill, right, is a bill presented by a member of parliament who is not elected but only nominated by the president of India, no, right? Simply private member means private member bill, it means any member who is not minister, right, any member of parliament who is not a minister, right, has presented the bill. That bill is known as private members bill, right, whether he is nominated or elected, right? Second, recently, that year in 2017, a private members bill has been passed in the Parliament of India for the first time in its history, no, right? Listen, generally there is very less chance of private members bill or passing of a private members bill, very less chance, almost nil, right, because it is not a government bill, not introduced by a minister, right? There is very less chance. So even by applying your own logic, you can solve this question, right, that this cannot happen, right? So you can see that both the statements are incorrect. A says 1 only, B says 2 only, C says 1 and 2, D says neither 1 nor 2. So D is the right answer of this question. Both statements are incorrect. Here is the explanation. I have already explained, right? Now fifth question, right? So fifth question says, it is, you can call it conceptual question again, right? If your concepts are clear here, you know the things, then you can solve this question, otherwise forget, right, or you will commit mistake, right? So it says the parliament, again see, right, same topic, parliament. Previous question number 4 was from parliament, question number 5 is from again parliament. So you can see how certain topics are repeated by UPSC, right? And I will make a separate video on important topics of polity and IR, right, within few days, hardly 2-3 days, right? So first is the Parliament of India exercises control over the function of Council of Ministers. Right? How you do knowing that Council of Ministers are collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. Right? So how it's or how functions of Council of Ministers are controlled. Right? First, adjournment motion, obviously. Second, question hour, obviously. Right? In question hour, you do knowing what there are certain means other members ask question from government and relevant you can say prime minister or other ministers are supposed to answer the questions of the other members of parliament. Right? Lastly, supplementary questions, obviously. This is also tool. These are tools to control the function of ministers, whether they are functioning or not. Right? You must have seen, right, the discussions or debates in the parliament where different members, right, especially members of parliament of opposition parties, right, they ask questions, right, from ministers, from government. Right? So all these three are correct. So read the correct option. A says 1 only, B says 2 and 3, C says 1 and 3, D says 1, 2 and 3. So D is the right answer of this question. Means all these three option statements are correct. Option D is correct. Right? You can check the explanation. Here is right. I have already told you. No need to explain. If you want to read, you can pause the video and you can read. Otherwise, PDF is there. Now, sixth question. Right, again you can see this question is again from what? Parliament. Right, Lok Sabha is included. Right, so though half of the question, but you can see the again this question is from parliament topic. Right, so just see. First says, consider the following statements. In the election for Lok Sabha or state assembly, the winning candidate must get at least 50%, at least 50% of votes polled to be declared elected. Absolutely wrong. Right? Why? Because you would be knowing that in India we follow FPTP. FPTP means what? First past the post. First past the post means what? There is no certain limit or certain percentage of vote that a winning candidate should get. No fix. Right? No fixed percentage of vote. Right? Question says at least 50%. No. First past the post means what? If, for example, if 10 candidates are there, for example, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. 10 candidates are there. Right? Some got 10%, some got 2%, some got 19%, some got what? 30%, some 5%. Zero. This also 0. This 28%, for example, and this, right, 4%. Then what will happen? You can clearly see that person I got 30% votes. How many votes? 30% votes. Right. So I will be declared what? Winning candidate. Why? Because it has received, or he or she, whatever. Right. So he or she has received highest number of votes or highest percentage of vote, not 15 or 50%. Right? That is the simple meaning of first past the post. Means the candidate who gets the maximum number of vote, he or she is declared the winner. Simple, not 50%. There is no criteria. Right? Second, according to the provisions laid down in the Constitution of India, in Lok Sabha, Speaker's post goes to majority party and deputy speakers to the opposition. Right? No. Right? So in Lok Sabha, Speaker's post goes to majority party and deputy speakers to the opposition. No, listen, it is not written in the Constitution. Never. Right? Nowhere it is written in the Constitution. It is just a political convention. Right? Political convention that the speaker, right? Simple. Speaker should be elected among its member, and generally what happened that deputy speaker is from opposition party. It has become a convention, not written in the Constitution anywhere. Right? So you can see both statements are incorrect. Right? So correct option A says 1 only, B 2 only, C both, D neither 1 nor 2. So D is the right answer. Both statements are incorrect. You can check the explanation. Right? Here is, I already told you. Right? And again in the explanation it is written that the Constitution Article 93 only states that Lok Sabha shall have what? An elected speaker and deputy speaker. Right? And nowhere it is written that they should be from whether ruling party or opposition party. Next, seventh question. Right? Very, you can call it factual question. You can call it factual question. Right? But you can see always, even in my MCQs discussion, I have told you, right? I have told you what? That you should read the options very carefully in single response question, because options are very close. Right? Trust me, if you do not pay attention, no, you will commit the mistake, and there is high chance to commit or you will pick the wrong option. Right? So first it says, for election to the Lok Sabha, a nomination paper can be filed by, simple, who can file nomination for Lok Sabha? First, anyone residing in India. No, anyone, you can see anyone residing in India. Means, for example, any foreigner has come to India and he is residing for few months in India. Is it possible for him or her to file a nomination paper to the election of Lok Sabha? No. Right? Listen, there are some questions where even if you are not aware, you can, by applying your mind, right, you can answer the question. Second, be a resident to the constituency from which the election is to be contested. Not necessary. Right? In Lok Sabha, right, a person can file nomination within the territory of India from any constituency. Any constituency. Right? For example, you are from West Bengal. You can file nomination from Maharashtra. You are from UP. You can file nomination from Andhra Pradesh. Right? For example, you would be knowing very best good example, Rahul Gandhi. Right? For last two elections, he is filing two nomination papers, one from UP and another from Andhra. Right? Oh, what? Why not? Right? Second, third option, any citizen of India whose name appears in the electoral roll of a constituency. Obviously. Right? This is the correct answer. Right? First, you condition, go and check what are the conditions, right, to be an or a member of Lok Sabha. What are the conditions? Right? Eligibility. So first you should be citizen of India. That is the first condition to contest this election. To contest any election, even at panchayat level, right, you should be citizen of India. That is the first condition. Second, your name should be recorded in the electoral roll. That is called voter list. Right? Even if you are a citizen of India and if your name is not recorded in voter list, you are not allowed to file nomination. Right? In Lok Sabha, right? So C would be the right answer. Means any citizen of India whose name appears in the electoral roll, commonly known as voter list, right, of a constituency. Of a constituency, any constituency. I told you, no, that you can file nomination from within the territory of India from any constituency in Lok Sabha election. Right? D, any citizen of India. No, any citizen of India means what? Even a, right, immature person, right, for example under 18, under 14, right, they are also citizen of India, but they cannot file nomination. Why? Because their name is not in the electoral roll. Right? Tell me one thing, what is the minimum age criteria for filing nomination in Lok Sabha? Tell me the answer. What is the minimum age criteria for filing nomination in the Lok Sabha election? Right? Next question. Eighth question. Here is the explanation. Now, democracy's superior virtue. Superior virtue means supreme good. Right? Lies in the fact that it calls into activity. Right? It calls into activity. What? It Again, this question is a conceptual question about democracy. What is the idea behind democracy, right? That's why, so your basic concept should be very clear. And here, right, your basic concept, and for basic concept read NCERTs, right, and good study materials. So first, democracy's superior virtue lies in what? First option says the intelligence and character of ordinary man and woman, right? Obviously, democracy simple means what? Rule of people. That is simple. Simple meaning. So how people will rule? Even if people are not educated, or sometimes they are not literate, but in spite of that, their intelligence and character, right, matters in democracy, right? Even for example, an illiterate person can become or has become minister or chief minister, right? There are several examples are there, right? Why? Because to serve the people, right, to serve the society, you don't need to be educated or highly educated. If you are intelligent enough, or your character is very good, right, you can be elected. And again, what? Citizens means men and women, right? Personal character and intelligence also plays very important role in democracy. So this should be the right answer, but read other options as I tell you every time. Second, the methods for strengthening executive leadership. No. Third, a superior individual with dynamism and vision. No. D, a band of dedicated party workers. No. No meaning for democracy of all this. So but A is the right answer. Means democracy's superior virtue lies in what? The intelligence and character of ordinary man and woman. Right? For example, if even ordinary man and woman are not intelligent and their character is not good, right? For example, before vote, right, they are lured by money or freebies. So if they are not intelligent enough, right, their character is not good, obviously there would be mood swing, right? They will vote any person who will give them money or any freebies, right? So there means common man's intelligence and character matters in democracy, right? So here is the explanation. Already I have speak the, right, I have already told you. Now we will see next question, that is ninth question, right? It says, which of the following are not, right, focus on term, right, not necessarily the consequence of proclamation of the president's rule in a state, right? So you would be knowing under article 356 and 365, president's rule can be imposed in any state. But the question asks, which of the following are not the reason or consequence, right, for the proclamation of president's rule in any state? First, dissolution of a state legislative assembly. No, right? Obviously this is not, or this could not be the reason to impose president's rule. For example, for the term, right, of legislative assembly has been completed and the governor has dissolved the state legislative assembly, then why president's rule would be imposed, right? No reason. Second, removal of council of ministers in the state, right? This could be the reason, and generally this happens, that for example, if the government has fallen, right, government has fallen, or the council of ministers has resigned, right, then what? President's rule can be imposed, right? So this could not, this is not the right answer. Third, dissolution of local bodies. Obviously no, right? If local bodies has been dissolved, why president's rule would be imposed in the state? No requirement, right? So statement 1 and 3 are correct. So you can check the explanation, right? Correct answer. A says 1 and 2, no. B says 1 and 3, obviously. So B is the right answer. No need to go for C or D, right? B is the right answer. Means statement 1 and 3 are right. Means these are not the consequences to proclaim president's rule in state, right? Here is the explanation, you can read. Right, now we will move towards the 10th question. Again it says, again this is a conceptual question. not factual question. Why? Just read, then you will understand. Which of the following statements is or are true of the fundamental duties of an citizen, Indian citizen? Right. So this question is about fundamental duties. Right. And again, I would suggest that you should remember all the 11 fundamental duties. Right, by heart. So it says a legislative process has been provided to enforce these duties. Obviously, as you would be knowing that by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976, right, fundamental duties were incorporated in Indian Constitution. That's why our legislative process, right, obviously has been provided to enforce. Though listen, to enforce here, enforce, it does not mean that fundamental rights are, sorry, fundamental duties are enforceable. It simply says that there was a legislative process. Legislative process means what? 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act was passed to incorporate fundamental duties. Right? So this statement is correct. Second says they are correlative to legal duties. No, they have nothing to do with legal duties. Right? As they are non-justiciable, not enforceable in any court. Right? So you can clearly answer this question. What? A says one only. Obviously, A is the right answer. Right? No need to go for B, C or D. Right? Here is the explanation. Here is the explanation. Already I told you. Right? You can pause and read the explanation. Now, 11th question. It says, with reference to Constitution of India, directive principles of state policy constitute limitations upon. Right? So, directive principle of state policies, you do know, just like fundamental duties, they are also non-justiciable. Right? Means they cannot be enforced, right, or they are not enforceable. Simple. Right? So it constitutes limitations upon first legislative, second executive. No, right? It does not constitute any limitation upon whether it is legislative or executive. Why? Because in simple terms, it is, or DPSPs are non-justiciable. When non-justiciable means what? It cannot be enforced in any court. Right? So simply what? They cannot put any limitation of whether it is legislative or executive. Right? So correct option would be A says 1 no, B says 2 no, C says both 1 and 2 no, D says neither 1 nor 2. So D is the right answer of this question. D is the right answer of this question. Right? Neither 1 nor 2 is the right answer. Right? It cannot put limitation on whether it is legislative or executive. Now check the explanation. Already. Now 12th question. Right? Again, just see. Previous question was, means 11th question was that related with DPSP, and again same topic has been repeated. Same. So you can see that in the same question, same exam, same year, right? Certain topics have been repeated. For example, from Parliament there were 3 questions. From DPSP, right? There are 2 questions continuously. Right? So you can imagine, or you can already check that these topics are important. Not important, very important. Right? That's why we are discussing PYQs in very much detail. And trust me, the explanation I have made, right, and I am giving you is very much detailed. Read the explanation of the question, and trust me, it will help you and benefit you a lot in the upcoming examination. So download the PDF and read the explanation very well. So it says, which principle among the following, right, which principle, simple, among the following was added to the directive principle of state policy by 42nd Amendment, right, to the Constitution? Simple. Right? Though there were fundamental rights included originally in the Constitution, but later on certain DPSPs, right, DPSPs, sorry, were, certain DPSPs were added later on, right, by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. Right? So if you remember, that's why I told you that you should remember all the fundamental rights, all the DPSPs, and all the fundamental duties. All these things, right, should be on your fingertip, on your fingertip. So first is equal pay for equal work for both men and women. No, it was already in the original constitution. Second, participation of workers in the management of industries. Obviously, see, this was done, means added by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, which year? 1976. Right, and you do knowing this amendment, 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, is known as mini constitution of India. Right, so this was added, right, and purpose, what was the purpose? To encourage the workers, right, that their participation or they have participation in management of industry, right, to boost their morale, right, to increase their, again there was secondary, you can say, object, but to increase their income also. Right to work, education and public assistance, already included in the original constitution. Right, securing living wages and human condition of work to workers, obviously already included in the original constitution. So B is the right answer of this question. Right, you can check the explanation. Here is, right, this one, participation of workers in the management of industries, added by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act and under Article 43A. Right, no need to go for further, already I have explained. Next, this, listen, this question is controversial question. Before studying the question, I am telling you that this question is very controversial question, and in the same year, in the 2017, it remained in controversy. Right, that just read, then I will tell you. Right, it says, just read. There are two questions mixed combinedly. Right, right to vote and to be elected, both. Right to vote and to be elected, means to be elected means what? Right to contest election in India is a what? Fundamental right. No, if you are a serious aspirant, right, you do knowing that nowhere in the fundamental right there is a single word about vote or what? Election. Simple. Second, natural right. No, right. Natural right means what? Given by nature. Nature means what? Your own logic. You enjoy certain rights because you are human. Right, if you know, if you want to know about the basic concept of right, you can watch my video. Right, I have made a full lecture on the basic concept of rights. I will give the link in the description box. Right, your concept will be crystal clear. What are rights? Different types of rights. Right, so natural, it is also not natural right. Forget about two things. Now left two question options, constitutional and legal rights, and these two options created controversy. Right, so what? Listen, if you divide this question, right, I will explain this question in very detail. Right, first is right to vote. Right to vote. Right, second, to be elected. To be elected. To be elected means what? To contest election. To contest. Right, two questions have been joined combinedly. Right, so right to vote, if you know and if you have even read NCERT, right, then you will be knowing that it is a constitutional right. Constitutional right. Right, under Article 326. Simple. But to be elected or to contest election is a what? Legal, you can say, legal or statutory right. Legal right. Right. Nowhere in the constitution there is mention that a person has right to contest election. Nowhere in the constitution. But constitution maintains under Article 326 right to vote. Right. It's simple. It simply says that any person who has registered, right, or who has been registered in the electoral list, then he or she can vote. Simple, right? But right to contest election, it comes under what? Representation of People Act 1951, right? So you can say that it is a legal right. But what happened that UPSC, right, in its answer key, right, pick pick has picked the option C. It has commonly taken both these two rights as constitutional right, right, and it created controversy. It created controversy, right? But you do knowing that UPSC has final say in the examination, right? You will have to accept the answer of UPSC, right? And listen, in broader sense, just listen. In broader sense, if you take it, then you will find that UPSC was right. Right, though this second portion, right, can be challenged, right, but UPSC has taken a wider approach, right. I have made the detailed explanation, right. You can read, and I would ask you to read the explanation, right. I have explained it, let me tell you. So the right answer is, as per UPSC, option C, constitutional right. But I have told you that right to vote is a constitutional right, and to be elected or to contest election is a legal right under Representation of People Act. But UPSC has commonly, right, chosen option C, that is constitutional right. Right, now see the explanation. Here is the explanation, right. Read the PDF, trust me. And here I have written, right, explanation UPSC oriented, right. In none of my explanation I have used the term UPSC oriented, but here it was necessary, right, from UPSC's perspective, that what UPSC thinks, right, what UPSC thinks, and you have to think from UPSC's perspective, because you have to pass the exam, right. Do not have clash with UPSC. So have such a wider approach, such type of conceptual clarity, right. So already I told you right to vote under Article 326 enshrined in Indian Constitution, right, and thus it is a constitutional right. But right to be elected or contesting election, what comes under what? Representation of People Act 1951, right. And what happened that in Jyoti Basu case, right, Jyoti Basu case versus Devi Ghoshal, right, Jyoti Basu versus Devi Ghoshal and Representation of People Act, right. Supreme Court held that no, right to contest election and right to vote, both right to elect, right to be elected, are neither fundamental rights nor common law, but purely statutory rights. Because power is derived from which act? Representation of People Act. And if any right is derived under the provisions of any act, then it is called a statutory right or legal right. But why UPSC has, or why UPSC chooses option C? Although the right to be elected is a legal right and right to vote is a foundational and constitutionally mentioned under Article 326, anchors the phrase in the realm of constitutional right. Therefore, option C is accepted as corrected by UPSC when both rights are referred to collectively. Right. And lastly, already I told you that correct answer is constitutional right. So read the explanation each and every question, right. It takes a lot of time, you can't imagine, and how much effort I put, right, to explain these questions, right. Barely any platform explains these questions in so much detail, right. So use it. Now 14th question. Again, this is a conceptual question, right, not factual question. First, it says, out of the following statements, choose one that brings out principle underlying cabinet's form of government. Obviously, cabinet form of government or parliamentary form of government or best ministerial form of government, all are same. These terms are used interchangeably. So, what is the principle underlying the cabinet form of government. So simply you would be knowing that, even if you don't know, then just read. First is an arrangement for minimizing criticism against the government whose responsibilities are complex and hard to carry out to the satisfaction of all. No. Oh, right. It is not the principle underlying cabinet form of government. Cabinet form of government or parliamentary form of government, it simply means what? To establish a responsible government. Simple. Right? Second, a mechanism for speeding up activities of government whose responsibilities are increasing day by day. No. Third, a mechanism of parliamentary democracy for ensuring collective responsibility. If you are aware of collective responsibility, right, then you can easily answer this question. Right. So for ensuring collective responsibility of the government to the people, obviously. So this is the principle underlying cabinet form of government or parliamentary form of government. So C is the right answer of this question. D says a device for strengthening the hand of the head of government, no, whose hold over people is in a state of decline. No. So simply the underlying principle behind cabinet form of government is what? A mechanism of parliamentary democracy for ensuring collective responsibility of the government. Simple. Government is what? Council of Ministers headed by PM. Right. So just read the explanation. Already you would be knowing. Right. And here this article is important. Article 75 clause 3. You would be knowing. Very simple. And it says what? The Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the House of People. House of People means what? Lower house, Lok Sabha. Simple. Now, 15th question. Again, you can call it generally factual question, right? And again, it also checks your conceptual clarity. That it says which one of the following is not a feature, right? Not a feature to Indian federalism. Listen, always I suggest you that read the questions very carefully, because the question asks not. Due to exam pressure, you missed the term not, and you have read what is a feature of Indian federalism. Then what? You will regret. So, first is there is an independent judiciary in India. Obviously, it is a feature of Indian federalism, right? But the question asks not a feature of Indian federalism. Powers have been clearly defined between center and state. Obviously, federalism simple means what? Division of powers between center and states. Right? Third, the federating units have been given unequal representation in Rajya Sabha. Obviously, right? In actually, it is called asymmetric federalism. Asymmetric federalism means what happens that in upper house in India we have asymmetric federalism. Asymmetric federalism means in upper house all the states does not have equal number of seats like America. For example, in US the upper house has 100 seats, and each and every state means 50 states have two seats. But in India, different states have different number of seats in the Rajya Sabha. That is called asymmetric federalism. Right? So it is also what? A feature of federalism. But last option, it is the result of an agreement among the federating units. No. Right? So this is not the feature of Indian federalism. Right? Means Indian federalism is not a result of an agreement among the federating units. Article 1 says India, that is Bharat, shall be union of state, not federal of state. Federation of states. Right? So D is the right answer of this question. No need to explain further. The explanation is here. You can read. Now, 16th question. Again, this is what? Conceptual question. Main advantage of parliamentary form of government. Obviously, again, you can correlate the same question with cabinet form of government. Right? Same question. Right? But read the options. It says the executive and legislature work independently. No. Right? In parliamentary system, right? For example, whether it is India or Britain, there is overlap between legislature and executive. No complete independence, right? Though judiciary is separate, but there is overlap between legislature and executive. Why? Because executive is always part of legislature, always comes from legislature. Second says it provides continuity of policy and is more efficient. No, actually, this is the, you can say, lacuna of parliamentary form of government. It is not, it does not secure the, or it does not guarantee the continuity of government. Anytime government can fall, right? But in presidential system, it guarantees the continuity of government. Third, the executive remains responsible to the legislature. Obviously, same option, right? Same, though question is different, but same option, same answer. Right? In capital system, what underlying principle what was? Executive was responsible to the lower house. Again here, parliamentary form of government is what? Executive remains responsible to the legislature. Right? Legislature in general, listen. The term parliament or legislature can be used, but the term should be used at last, right? Or in the last is in general. In particular, it is Lok Sabha. In general, it is the legislature. Because Lok Sabha is what? Part of legislature. So in general, you can call, or you can say that executive is responsible to the parliament or legislature in general, and executive is responsible to the lower house, right? That is Lok Sabha in particular. So C is the right answer of this question, right? C is the right answer. Now, obviously, Article 75 or Clause 3, right? Here is, and obviously, India and Britain both follows this form of government, parliamentary form of government. Next, 17th question, right? As I suggested you, even in my MCQs discussion, that you should remember preamble by heart. It's an with comma and full stop. Trust me, very important. If you remember the preamble, right? You can. It will take few seconds. Few seconds. Just see. Why? Which one of the following objective is not embodied in the preamble to the Constitution of India? Objective, right? Not embodied. Not embodied in the preamble. So, what are the objectives? What? Just see. Liberty of thought, economic liberty, liberty of expression, liberty of belief. So, preamble says what? Liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, worship. 5 kinds of liberty. But not economic liberty. It never talks about, though it talks about justice, 3 types of justice: social, economic, political, but not economic liberty. So just see how UPSC makes the options to confuse you. Even if you are, or if you have remembered due to exam pressure or due to having or any misconception, right? You will think no, economic term economic has been mentioned in the preamble, right? So you can leave this, or you will take any, right? So what? It preamble talks about liberty, 5 kinds of liberty: liberty of thought, expression, belief, and 2 other, faith and worship. Not economic liberty, right? So B is the right answer, not embodied in the preamble of Constitution, right? No need to explain further. Here is the explanation. You can read. Now, 18th question. Again, just see. Same question, right? There was a question from preamble, and again the preamble has been repeated. So you can imagine how certain topics are important, and the same topics means certain question, 2, 3, 4 questions comes from the same topic. So don't miss the mark, right? So it says the mind of makers of Constitution of India is reflected in, right? So simply ask, the mind of framers of Constitution of India is reflected in which of the following? First, the preamble. Second, fundamental rights. Third, directive principle of state policy. Fourth, fundamental duties. The right answer would be preamble. Why? Because it is nothing but the philosophical part. It reflects the objectives, right? Objectives of founding fathers or makers of the Constitution. Simple, straightforward question. So A is the right answer. Here is the explanation. You can pause and you can read. Right? Here one thing is important, that the means preamble of the constitution is often described as key to the minds of constitution makers. Why? Because as per, or this idea comes from KT Shah. Who was KT Shah? One of the member of Constituent Assembly, and later reiterated by, means it was repeated by Supreme Court in various landmark judgments. Right? For example, in Berubari Union case, the Supreme Court held that the preamble is key to open minds of makers of constitution. Right? So minds of makers of constitution, what it is, the preamble, that is key to open the minds of makers, because the objectives, philosophy of constitution has been mentioned in the preamble. Talks about justice, talks about liberty, talks about equality. All these are nothing but what? Philosophy or objective of constitution or not. Right? Next, 19th question. Which of the following are envisaged by right against exploitation in the Constitution of India? Just see. That's why I suggest you that read on, remember all the fundamental rights. So this question is directly from right against exploitation. Right? So first is prohibition of traffic in human beings and forced labor. Obviously, it prohibits, or it is a right against exploitation. Exploitation means what? You are overutilizing, right, of human whatever physical or mental capacity. Right? Giving physical or mental pain. Right? So this is correct. Second, abolition of untouchability. Obviously, this is also correct. Comes under right against exploitation. Third, protection of interest of minorities. No, it does not come under right against exploitation. Comes under what? Rights of minorities. Right? Fourth, prohibition of employment of children in factories and mines. Obviously, it is common sense. If you, even if you don't know, then you can apply your common sense. That here somehow what? For example, human trafficking, forced labor, untouchability, employment of children. Right? All these are nothing but what? Exploitation or not. So this comes under right against exploitation. So statement 1, 2 and 4 are correct. Now correct answer is A says 1, 2 and 4. Obviously A is the right answer. No need to go for B, C or D. Save your time. Right? Now we will move to the 20th question. Here is the explanation. You can pause and you can read. Now 20th question. Again, this is a conceptual question. Very conceptual questions. Very conceptual question. If your concepts are clear, only then you can read. And again, I would suggest that even before reading the main topics, you should read about their concepts, whether it is NCERT or whatever you have. Right? So in the context of India, which one of the following is correct relationship? Right? Correct relationship between rights and duties. So there is a debate several times. Even some, the question may have arisen in your mind, or may arise in your mind, right? That what, which one is more important, or what is the relation between rights and duties? Which comes first, or which should come first? Whether it is duty or right, or both should come together, right? So it says, what is the correct relationship between rights and duties? First says, rights are correlative with duties. Right? Obviously, rights are correlative with duties. Why? Because while, for example, while enjoying certain rights, right, you should also perform certain duties. Even at your home, right? While you have certain rights, right, to ask from your parents, but there are certain duties that you should fulfill, and you, right, fulfill. For example, respecting them, right, giving them respect. It is your duty. Caring them, right, it is your duty. When they are sick or when they are old, it is your duty. So rights and duties are correlated, right? You cannot separate them, right? But which comes first? Generally, listen. Generally, it is said that, or it is not said, but you can understand that generally rights come first. But right is not allowed. It always comes with responsibilities, that is duties. Right? Both are parallel. Means they move together by joining hands. Right? So this should be the right answer, but three other options. Rights are personal, hence independent of society and duties. No. Right? There are different types of right. You do know natural rights, right? Human rights, civil rights, fundamental rights, legal rights. Right? Even there are certain what social or cultural rights. Right? Human rights. See, rights, not duties, are important for advancement of personality of the citizen. No, as rights are important, duties are also important. Right? This is duties, not rights, are important for stability of a state. No, both are important. As right checks the arbitrary action of state, along at the same time, duties also what raise and you can say alarm in the minds of citizen that while enjoying certain rights, you should perform certain duties as a citizen. Right? So A is the right answer of this question. Let me explain. Right, rights are correlative with duties. Right? For example, even Mahatma Gandhi. Right? Mahatma Gandhi talks about rights and duties. That what rights comes with duties. In simple terms, like if you want to enjoy certain rights, you should also perform certain duties. Both cannot be separated. Here is the explanation. If you want to read, you can read. Right. As I told you, that Gandhiji famously says, what the true source of right is duty. If you want to enjoy certain rights, what is the source? Your duty. Next, again, though very small question, but very conceptual question. Right, and this is related with Article 14. It says, one of the implications of equality in society is absence of what? How? In simple terms, I am telling you that how equality, right, can be ensured or established in the society. How? In the absence of privileges. Second, restraints. Third, competition. Fourth, ideology. Yes, you are right. It is privileges. Only by or after abolishing the certain privileges of certain elite class people, right, equality can be ensured. Privileges means what? King and a common man, right? Means if you want to ensure equality in the society, then the state, right, the state should treat whether it is everyone, whether it is a king or a common man, equally. And Article 14, equality before law and equal protection of law. Simple. Right? And it says what? Absence of any privilege. Whether you are a king, uh, the richest man of the nation or country, or the poorest man of the nation, if you have committed the crime, punishment should be same for both. That is the simple meaning of equality. Means absence of any kind of privilege. Now, here is the explanation. Now, last question of the day. Again, just see, same conceptual question. One question, conceptual question was from right. Again, another conceptual question from rights. Right. And trust me, if you want to clear your concept about rights, you can watch my video. I would suggest you can watch my video. I've right clarified the concept of rights in very detail. There is a separate lecture on rights. Right. I will give the link in the description box. So it says, which one of the following statements is correct? First says, rights are claims of the state against citizen. No, actually, rights are claims of citizens against the state. If states have authority, then rights are what? Shield. Shield means what? Shield, it protects the individuals from arbitrary action of a state. It checks the arbitrary action of a state. right? Second says rights are privileges which are incorporated in the constitution of a state. No, rights are not privileges. Right? Rights are not privileges. Third says rights are claims of citizens against the state. Obviously, I told you no that they are claims of citizens against the state. If states have authority, citizens have rights. If states have authority to perform certain actions, citizens have certain rights to enjoy their life for their overall development, whether physical, mental, or social well-being, whatever. Right? So C is the right answer. Means rights are claims of citizens against the state. Right? Here is the explanation. You can pause the video and you can read. Now, so that's all for today. We will meet in another lecture with another MCQs, another PYQs. Till then, keep revising, keep practicing.